Okay, apparently it is working. This is my first time streaming with my new setup and a new microphone, so let me know if the sound is good um, and everything's okay. Let's pop out chat. I have this massive screen now that's taking some getting used to, which is why you'll see my head going like this and like this because I'm looking from one side of the screen to the other. Okay. What? Hey, Mr. L, Kevin, Barber, Moondog, Darkstrider, Jacob, Adam, Not a Dog, Dragon Turtle. The emergency. I knew somebody's going to say that. The code red is actually Mountain Dew because somebody suggested the other day that it's not a proper D&D channel unless I've got cheese products and Mountain Dew. So I'm going to be drinking Mountain Dew today. It's been quite some time since I have drunk Mountain Dew or Code Red, anything red for that matter. So here goes. You guys are going to be the death of me. I have to put the cap back on that because it's right next to my audio mixer and I don't want to spill any Mountain Dew on that thing. Mmm. I've had cheeses that are less strong than that. Okay, so for the cheeses this morning, I've got some Dutch Gouda. I have some Camembert. This is Waitemata Camembert, so New Zealand made. Actually, so is the Gouda. It's Hutchinson's. And I believe this is New Zealand made. Yep. Auckland. Good grief. Gouda cheese. And a very special cheese. I need some pizza. Yeah, maybe. Cloning Mastodons produce Skyrim mammoth cheese wheels. He will soon corner the market. Oh, yeah, I hope. Okay. Is Whitestone Cheese Company. And this is called Shenley Station Blue. And there's a really good story behind this cheese. It's got a proprietary, New Zealand only 45 South blue mold, which they discovered in New Zealand. So the story goes, I've got to read this out. An idea born from perseverance, passion, and local ingenuity, Shenland Station Blue is one of our most ambitious cheeses yet. The original Penicillium Rochefort blue mold strain is named after the Rochefort limestone caves in the south of France. We have similar limestone caves in North Otago in the South Island. Therefore, the challenge was set to find New Zealand's own blue mold strain. Whitestone Cheese CEO Simon Berry and head cheesemaker Chris Moran basically going around looking for weird coloured rocks for the mould in the local caves with no luck. Fortunately, the Fisher family of Shenley Station in Fairlie discovered some strange looking mould on their baleage. Now, baleage is basically fermenting hay for any of you who. There's silage and baleage. So basically, think rotting grass, okay? Grass. not a milk product, grass, okay? Rit Fisher, fourth generation biodynamic farmer, was concerned the mould would not be safe for his feed to his stock. A sample was sent to Christchurch Lab Plant Diagnostics for mould identification. When penicillin Rochefort was found to be present, the lab got on the phone to Whitestone Cheese and said, "Hey man, we found your cheese." Well, they found their mould. They named the new mould 45 South Blue and with it created New Zealand's first Shenley Station Blue. So here goes. I'm going to crack this up. I've been looking at this thing all week, just itching to get live streaming and eat this. I was holding off. Now it doesn't look like your traditional blue cheese. It's kind of like a lighter coloured, but it looks dangerous. Let's put it this way. So here goes. Try and peel back the cover here. smells mild. All right. It's only one way to level up. That's to test yourself. Here goes, everybody. Wish me luck. Yep. That is unique. It's very mild. The cheese is kind of a harder cheddary type cheese. Not quite as creamy, melt in your mouth as the other sort of blue cheese I usually have, like the Danish style ones. The mold is very mild, but it's definitely had an effect. It's more of a dry crumble effect on the cheese. And it's got a really nice afterfinish. Like the aftertaste is pizza-y. You know, like that. You've had roasted cheese. It's got a roasted cheese afterfinish. Nice one, Matt. Yeah, definitely. Different groups of dwarves would have different specialties in food making. Oh no, my audio just cut out. Did it? I can always switch over to my camera microphone because this is. Oh, okay. I'm going to switch over to my other microphone on the camera because there we go. That should sound. Can everybody hear me now? Was that better? The audio is going to be a bit weird. All is well, Don. So can you hear a definite difference in the audio quality? The camera microphone should be louder. I'll just swing the other microphone back around. Yeah, that other microphone is probably only recording in one track, which is fine for when I'm doing the audio capture when I'm reading scripts and stuff, but not so great for live streaming, obviously. Yeah, that's all right. That's kind of inconvenient because it's a very directional microphone, unlike my other one. All right, let's try the Gouda. We're going to get to Dungeons and Dragons stuff pretty soon, everybody. Trust me, we're getting there. I had this other cheese which I got on discount, which I was really dubious about because it was very sort of squishy and liquid. Turns out to be one of the best soft cheeses I'd ever eaten, and I really regretted eating all of it before I got to the live stream, but I couldn't resist. It was just fantastic. This Gouda actually melted a bit on the way back from the supermarket because I had it next to a roast chicken. True story. Just going to chop a generous chunk out of the middle. Gouda is a Dutch cheese, obviously. It's quite often flavoured with different types of herbs and things. I like it mild. I also like a goat Gouda more than a cow Gouda. And considering a lot of the goat farms around the Waikato region, which is just over the mountains from here, which is where Hobbiton and stuff is, are run by Dutch people. A few, not all of them. And come for the cheese and stay for the D&D. Hey, Justin. Yeah, well, all the different races have their own cuisines. The Drow have very weird cuisine, actually. This is a nice Gouda. Very nice. Very creamy. Really good texture on that one. Smoked Gouda, yeah. Mountain Dew. Hey, nice to have you here, Kyle. Juju Bear. Maverick. John. Keykeeper. So the Sato video didn't get a lot of traction, actually. I think it's mainly because of the holiday weekend and stuff and just metrics and stuff. It's been a really good month for the channel, so thanks everybody. It's been really good. I'm very, very close now to finishing off the Monster Manual. Very close. It's been a bit arduous for me, actually, because I'm quite a chaotic sort of creative person, and following a list rigorously all the way down sort of alphabetically is not in my nature. So I'm probably going to go a bit nuts after this and like jump from a demon lord to, I don't know, an angels, redo one of my old videos, jump over to a dragon, just go crazy. Maybe do stuff from the Fiend Folio, some old school monsters, do some homebrew stuff after all this. So I have, I'm halfway through doing the Scarecrow video right now, and the Scarecrow is actually pretty good. I thought it was going to be a bit dull, but it's actually a lot more interesting than I thought it was. It's one of the original Fiend Folio monsters, actually. And then it's just 5 more, and I've finished the Monster Manual. So I've got the Spectre, the Sphinx, the Water Weird, the Wraith, and the Yeti. I'm really looking forward to the Wraith, and also Yeti's kind of interesting too. And I might be able to reveal some information to you about that. What's my alignment? Chaotic good. Alright, time for the Camembert. Camembert and Brie are very closely related cheeses. In fact, sometimes you can't tell the two apart. And for the longest time I thought the only difference between them was the shape. But if you can tell me what the actual difference between them is, you win points for your house. A little bit more Mountain Dew. Lawful neutral. Nah, not really. I could be chaotic neutral, maybe. Just go where the winds. I mean, it's hard to say. What you see over the YouTubes and stuff, my persona that I present to you online is not exactly my real self. Like, to be fair, in person I guess I'm a bit more chaotic. Certainly my DMing style is pretty chaotic. I've just recently, actually, after many years of DMing, started to get into DMing modules as they're written, and it's actually fairly good as long as it's a well-written module. I ran through the Cobalt Presses, one of the layers from the Book of Layers just the other day, actually, and that was the Dark Forest one, and that was really good. Like, it's a very simple adventure. There it is there. Essentially, it's a little forest sidetrack. It's designed for 8th level. I had to nerf it down to like a 6th level, but I probably didn't need to, actually, because the player characters had a lot of combat damage that was very effective against the monsters they were facing, and it's my fault for not seeing that beforehand. Camembert. You hate alignments, but you know what yours is. Yeah, that is the correct response. Azamar cuisine. That's a good question. I don't know. I don't think they have a cultural food, do they? I guess they would eat whatever's going on wherever they are. Probably healthy food. I haven't exactly been lying to you. I'm just saying in real life I'm a Kiwi, so I probably swear more. Oh, right. True enough, not a dog. I just recently, in the satire video, got into a sort of a political debate with somebody. Well, more like they were reading politics into something I said. It was me describing the satyrs as chads and bros. Hey, thanks, Justin. And apparently they took great umbrage at me calling them chads. It's like, that's exactly what bad satyrs are. You're saying that it's a toxic word, and I'm using it to describe a toxic behavior in an alien species. Whatever. Skaven Clan Pestilence was your big bad evil guy. How would you run the campaign? Were-rats, lots and lots of were-rats. I've talked about this before, Justin, that were-rats can be used very cleverly. So they can bribe an entire town by just basically leaving gold coins and notes next to sewer grates and things like that. Nobody needs to know who's doing the bribing. And it's much more comfortable for that person to accept that gold coin bribery because, of course, were-rats sort of infiltrate thieves' guilds and stuff. So, also beggars, diseased beggars, are unseen, they're untouchable, they're unclean, and also they're covered. So it's very easy to hide in those rags. If there happens to be a lot of diseased beggars around that cover their faces, who knows who's moving around on the streets really, and the guys wrapped up like that. Could be were-rats, could be the local thieves guild, could be people they're smuggling in and out of the city. Could be abducted people who they've bamboozled with enchantment magic and wrap them in rags and take them out through the city gates. You never know. So meanwhile, this Skaven Lord is down below looking to open a portal to some world or something like that where they can bring in more of their forces, the forces of chaos, the Skavens. Oh, I see. Right. Yeah, so I looked it up in Urban Dictionary, and all it said was basically the version of bro. I was like, okay. I forgot about the whole incel thing. Right. Whatever. We don't even use that word in New Zealand, so I don't care. Their point was kind of ridiculous. And they started making all sorts of assumptions about what I watched on YouTube in my spare time. It's like, you don't know me. Get out of it. Alright, that concludes our cheese portion of the evening. Very nice camembert cheese. Pretty standard. Can lycanthropes get leprosy? Yes, they can. For sure. Politics have a place in D&D as long as it's allegory for politics that's based in your world. Real world politics have no basis in D&D. I mean, nobody wants to be that guy at the table going, actually, lycanthropy for cats, yeah. Yeah, well, lycanthropy, I think R.A. Salvatore did a really good job of depicting how distasteful lycanthropy is for those around the people who are afflicted with it, particularly the were-rats. The transformation into a lycanthrope is disgusting. Like, it's a cursed condition. I know we look at the game mechanics and we look at how cool the abilities of a lycanthrope are, but the actual reality of having lycanthropy is it's a cursed, painful, inconvenient, mind-affecting, and hopeless condition that nobody in their right mind would want to actually get on purpose. So if you're thinking about playing that character, think about the cursed aspect of it and the fact that you want to do anything you can to stop being a lycanthrope. People who are born lycanthropes because their parents were lycanthropes have no choice in the matter. Can they be cured? Maybe, possibly, but they're born with the disease. The internet is full of crazies, yeah, and it's also full of like far left people who think that they literally can get on a soapbox whenever they want. I loved his quote. What did he say? If you're not basically fighting with us, then shut up. So in other words, censor yourself if we tell you to. It's like, hello, fascist. Far left, guess what? So were the Nazis. They were a far left party. Fuck off. What sort of lair actions would work for the stronger monsters and enemies that didn't get any in the monster manual? For example, a Huatl. Ah, that's a great question, Robert. It's a very wide open question. Can you give an example? Like, okay, so for example, the Huatl. The Huatl are creatures of goodness. So what you can do is pick and choose from creatures like the Gold Dragon, for instance, or the Silver Dragon. So a Huatl may, if somebody falls off a cliff somewhere near the Huatl there, and say maybe they're not buoyed up by winds that blow them up in the air and give them a feather fall effect like around Gold Dragons, but say they land on the rocks, and as long as they're not killed outright, they will actually naturally heal up and resurrect. So the Huatl actually keeps creatures alive. Huatl are renowned for having a stabilizing effect on the weather in their region as well. So yeah, I think Huatl actually do have lair effects. Double check. Anyway, so creatures like Kirin and other sorts of forces of good like that have good effects. Things like trolls and stuff have got more of an effect that people who are like druids and nature rangers and things like that in the area really notice that a troll is around. So a high level troll has a corrupting effect on the environment. Because imagine their cells of a troll are kind of like algal regenerating sort of half mammal, half plant type cells that just sort of regenerate. So this thing's sloughing off scrapes and cuts and bruises and things, pulling off little bits of it, and it grows this gunge on trees and things that makes this troll fungus that grows all over the place. And it can have a deleterious effect on the livestock and all sorts of, like, you might get cows with troll sickness, so they get overly aggressive and start craving meat, you know, that sort of thing. Yeah. Well, I'm glad we're all on the same sort of yeah, we're all on the same page about the people that we want to avoid on the internet. Sounds like there's a cricket chilling near my microphone. Oh, there's not much I can do about it at the moment. I'll try and work on the microphone thing a bit more later on. Hello, Gewehr. Hello, everyone in Germany. A lycanthrope. Yeah, a lycanthrope. Yeah, a little bit like 40k orcs. Yeah, exactly. Well, Zazek, I'm pretty confident that they've already tried. Remember, I've survived one demonetization. I have no idea what that was originally caused by. I think it was actually caused by... it may possibly have been caused by the multi-channel network that I was with in the first place. I've always had that suspicion. I mean, I can't confirm one way or the other, but you're left being very paranoid about what it was in the first place. What would you do to layer effects for high-level PCs, at least spellcasters? What would you do for layer effects for high-level PCs? Layer effects? Layer or layer? Layer. Depends entirely. I would say it would go by character class. So nobles would have guards and lackeys, people working for them, men-at-arms, hired guns, so to speak. Wizards would have alchemical experiments gone wrong, gibbering mouthers, gibbering spheres, golems, that sort of thing. Clerics can also have golems as well. In fact, golems were originally a religious mythology, so you know. Ah, well, I can, let's see. If I configure video, camera control, I don't know if I can turn off the autofocus on the camera. I'm going to have to get to that later, sorry. So there may be some quality issues, I'm afraid. Thanks, Ethan. Tarrasques don't really have layers. They've got piles of rubble that pile up on top of them after they've destroyed everything. They may nestle down, yeah, they just sleep in the earth. Buried deep in the ground, snoozing away. Yeah, encased in rock. Aseric has more humanity from his relationship with his adoptive father Vecna than some people in this world. Yeah, I suppose so. Hey Trenton, nice to see you. Recommend you a new character, Pixie Wizard. Sorcerer and Warlock lair actions. So sorcerers, they are fonts of magical power. So they snap their fingers and torches light, and so their lair effects would be random magical firings, because wild magic generally happens with sorcerers. Also, they can be draconic origin, so it depends on the origin of the sorcerer. If they're draconic, then they would have gold and jewels and things like that piled up that they'll like sit on a gold chain throw rug sort of thing. And they may have hunks of meat that they're chewing on. Warlocks, of course, depends on their patron. So otherworldly warlocks might have tentacles and things like that. Tentacle motif would be very strong with them, I'd imagine. Hexblade Warlock. What do the Hexblades do? Of course, they're going to have a fairly impressive knife collection. They probably make knives. Let's see. They're going to have arcane tomes and things. They're going to have books which are dangerous to pick up and read. Yeah, Tarrasques are basically the kaiju of D&D. So are dragon turtles and Zaratans, and well, I guess the Phoenix is a flame kaiju in 5th edition. Hey Vackerson, you didn't miss much, just some eating of cheese. Man, I'm powering through this Mountain Dew. I haven't watched Matt Colville's The Chain, no. Who has the time? One thing I did watch was Matt Colville, sorry, not Matt Colville, Matt Mercer. What is it with Matts in D&D? Matt Mercer DMing a little session for Stephen Colbert. It's on the D&D Beyond website if you want to go and check that out. It's actually quite entertaining. It's the first time Stephen Colbert has actually legit played D&D for years and years and years, and you can see he's like overcome with nostalgia and emotion. It's quite good, although he's obviously distracted by a massive production crew who are saying you've got the next thing to go to, and he's like, fuck off, I'm playing D&D. Steampunk Beholder, yeah. Going to begin running my first ever campaign very soon. What's the DMing skill you wish you had mastered much sooner? What's a bad habit to avoid at all costs? Keep doing what I do. Thank you. Bad habit to avoid doing at all costs is narrating over top of your players and telling them what their character is doing. Also, over-explaining or over-luring them with stuff, particularly if it's a game world that you've created. Let them discover it. Don't shove it down their throat. Nobody wants to be lectured for hours at a time with lore unless they're watching one of my videos. Yeah, and also don't over-create stuff. because that leads to railroading. So what you want to do is you want to give broad brushstrokes of what's in the scene, and then narrative descriptive things that you're going to tell to the players. So an NPC can just be shop owner, has outrageous mustache and a limp leg. Street beggar, scratches furiously at fleas all the time. Twitchy, looks over his shoulders like he's being followed. That's it. That's all you know about those characters. And then as the players are talking to them, you're coming up with it, you're imagining the scene, you're adapting the entire environment to fit what they're doing. And the story just sort of evolves. So you're feeding off what, like a lot of what their worst fears and best hopes are what dictates what you're going to be narrating to them in the game. Because really you're delivering the story that they want to hear. And also taking away their toys every now and then. How do you get me to DM a game for you with your new character? You don't. Because who's got the time? I would love to do more online gaming. And hopefully in the future I'll be able to do that. But I've got a lot of work to do this year. I really do. Godzilla stats, yeah. Can you awaken a Tarrasque? If you can get past its magic resistance, yeah, I suppose you could. Have you had any interesting evil campaign moments? Many, many. Quite often involving Chul. And just combinations of creatures and stuff. Also, I tend to kill NPCs in a really horrible fashion. Like, there was an NPC that was basically a boy that was with one of the fighters in the game who had sort of taken him under his wing, and they were in a dangerous situation going through the Underdark, and the kid got killed by a mind flayer, had his brain extracted. And the fighter went a little bit crazy. He made a toy out of fungus, basically a doll, named it the kid's name, and refused to accept that it wasn't the kid alive and well. To the point where everybody got a little bit freaked out at the table because he's such a good role player. He was actually making us think he was going a little bit weird in the head. It was fantastic. And to this day, it's still like a running joke. What are your thoughts on D&D magical super weapon with a radioactive S contamination effect? Well, obviously a demon bomb. Radiation in the D&D world is demonic abyssal energy. That's the best sort of allegory for radiation in Dungeons and Dragons. Something that causes mutation and evil. Agent of Karma, usually just saying my name at the start of it will highlight my name and I'll be able to see your question better. Is there such a thing as a were-man, animals cursed to become humans under the full moon? Yes. The shark were, which is one of the ones that are described in the video on Sahuagin, or Sahuagin. So shark wares are were sharks. So they are sharks that become a human. And you can have instances of wolf wares. So it's a wolf that becomes a human. Yeah, I've said many times, and I'll reiterate that there's a cyborg beholder equals broken. Not really. I mean, if it had guns attached to its eye stalks, they'd have exactly the same effect. In fact, it would lessen the effectiveness of the beholder if it used laser beams, because it would just be radiant attacks. What was I saying? Mind flayers, the ceramorphosis is it requires there's only so much mass of body that the tadpole can convert into a mind flayer before it runs out of metabolic energy and dies in the process. So humans and various others are worthwhile because they have enough brain tissue to sustain the thing, while it's transforming the body mass that and humans, and a little bit bigger is all it can handle. It can't handle anything like a mammoth or an elephant or a dragon or a Tarrasque or anything like that. They just can't do it unless extraordinary means are applied by the entire mind flayer cell. So that elder brain, who is in control of all those mind flayer minions, so effectively the one mind, would be making this thing specifically to turn it into this. But you've got to ask yourself, what is the vested interest in an elder brain making something that could possibly grow more powerful than it, and break free of its control and therefore become a threat? So it doesn't really make a lot of sense. The other question is neolithids, right? So neolithids are the mature form of a tadpole that hasn't performed seromorphosis on anything else. And they're crazy. They're animalistic, sort of crazy things. But they are really massively psychically powerful. And in D&D 5th edition, we haven't got separate sort of psychic powers yet. And we're a bit late in the game now for them to be introducing psychic powers. So I don't know if they're going to. Maybe, I don't know. So that is magical powers, basically at will sort of magical effects that it can unleash with its mind, and a massive mind blast, and they're quite terrifying. Dragon Turtle, I think it's mainly become human. Hey, Mossy Gold. Thanks for your... I don't know if you read my reply to your comment, your joke about my name, Mossy Golem. The picket fence thing. I thought that was kind of humorous. So I gave you this big long spiel about the origin of picket fences. In an evil group I was in, 2 characters got married, and to seal the pact they sacrificed 100 pituitary glands from children? That is evil. And why? Why did they do that? I mean, cool for an evil campaign, but geez, what did they do that for? It's up to you. They specifically become human most of the time. I mean, do elves have their own form of lycanthropic curse? Do orcs have their own form of lycanthropic curse? Well, orcs have got ettins. Ettins are a curse that was placed upon some orcs to become these creatures, but they're still genetically orcs. Mind flayers have got their own diseases. One which would manifest as like a cold in a human is very dangerous to mind flayers, actually. It's Pride Month. Feywild. Make an article of what LGBTism would be in D&D, or anything like it would be from the Feywild, etc., and be related to a deity. It's kind of built into it, really, because you've got creatures in the D&D world which, like for instance, most people don't know whether dwarves have a female gender. Elves are kind of androgynous. There's a lot of creatures which have very alternate ways of reproduction in Dungeons and Dragons. So I don't know if gender would be much of an issue. Also, there's magic as well, which can transform people's gender. I've never really had much of an issue with it. In my D&D games, we had, I think it was about 3 or 4 campaigns ago, one of the dwarven character was in a relationship with an NPC, male. They're both males, and yeah, that was actually quite an interesting story arc. Had quite a nice resolution, actually, more so than the campaign did. So yeah, I don't think it's much of an issue, really. Yeah, I guess it's, you know, it's not really the focus of me to do real world themed stuff. I suppose I do sort of like a Shark Week type thing. Did I do a Shark Week? I do the April Fools. I do a Halloween thing. Would I rather go to the Nine Hells or the Abyss in the afterlife? Definitely the Nine Hells. Definitely. The pituitary gland is rumoured to be linked to the soul. Oh, interesting. I suppose so. That's like the third eye. Can mind flayers experiment on angels and stuff? Yeah, they can experiment on the immortals. Yep. Goblins are completely androgynous. The men and women look exactly alike. Do they? Not gender theory, just LGBT stuff. Like what? See, that's a tricky thing with living in New Zealand. I'm not saying it's not politically charged or anything, it's just we live in a pretty accepting society. So it's less of a, I don't know. I'm not saying it doesn't impact me, it certainly does. I'm just saying that I don't feel it's as much of a struggle. Mind flayers don't eat clowns because they taste funny. Nice. I think Big Show, I don't know if Big Show is a pituitary giant. I think he's naturally just that big, isn't he? Does he have any siblings? Andre the Giant was definitely a pituitary giant. Some of them have bone conditions, stuff like that. There's also all different forms of giantism. It's like y'all are trying to turn this into Pride Month on the AJ live stream. I'm not saying it's not an issue around the world. I'm just saying it's not an issue with me personally. I don't have any issue with anybody's lifestyle choices or gender. As long as they're doing no harm, do what you will. What is Moanda and how does it work? Good question, Kajak. I don't know. Can anybody answer that? Oh, the mad one! I've just started playing Baldur's Gate 2. I literally just uploaded it and started playing it yesterday on my day off. Oh, I did. That's interesting, Matt. Thank you. The only image I've seen of a female hobgoblin is the monk character in Volo's Guide. Ah, right. Well, the monks and the wizards in Hobgoblin Society generally look really like overly physically stressed out. So if they have zero body fat, then they probably look pretty male, mostly. Like there's not a lot of skeletal difference between males and females, really. If you're looking at the skeleton of like a pelvis, for instance, is about one of the best indicators whether somebody is a male or female. It's really hard to tell when you're just looking at a skeleton. And hobgoblins have been bred for war for generations, so their musculature is pretty unified across the genders. I don't think there's as much dimorphism in them. Goblins and orcs, on the other hand, quite a bit of dimorphism, particularly goblins. That's why I was quite like, really? You don't think there's any? The main thing is that the female goblins are horribly oppressed, basically just producing babies all the time, never leaving the lair. So I'm against demons. Yeah, generally speaking, against demons, yes. If I were a class in D&D yourself, what would I be? I'd be a sage. I'm a NPC class, basically, non-adventuring class. Little, like maybe cross-class and ranger. Do I have any other channels? No, I don't. This is it. I just recently, thanks to a suggestion from somebody on the Satyr video, I just uploaded onto SoundCloud. So if you want to hear my audio with no music or intro or pictures or anything like that, just me talking, I'm going to be uploading older video audio onto SoundCloud, if that interests anybody. How would we try and mix Silent Hill and D&D? Video games in general are pretty linear. They really depend a lot on the feel, the vibe of the encounters with monsters. Other than that, it's just basically walking around spooky corridors and stuff. So a lot of things is describing something but leaving stuff out. So you over-describe something like a dripping water sound, and you reiterate that for every room that you go into, that you can hear this distant dripping sound, drip, drip, drip. And you keep reiterating that every little while. And so they start getting really focused on the dripping sound, and it makes them more and more paranoid when you're describing these things like there's a creaking in the boards. It's like, is there something moving around in the house? I make a perception check, blah, blah, blah. And they get really obsessed with trying to detect stuff. And then at the same time, you're making like little round rolls, to get them more anxious. And eventually the encounters play on all those different types of things, like the monster shows itself and it's actually dripping blood. And that was the dripping sound. Rather than feminine, you would say different from a typical goblin. Yeah. Mantic, the Manticore King from the Creature Codex, an upcoming session. Well, Manticores are bestial. They're aggressive. So they're going to be talking about. He's going to be talking about how good it would be to eat. Like, I haven't eaten a human in such a long time. I love the cracking of the bones and sucking the marrow like a flute. A sweet note of flavor from a flute. So he'll be talking about eating them. If my skeleton mind melds with a mind flayer, what kind of baby can I make? They don't reproduce that way, sorry. Zombies, yeah. So, yeah, Sorrow for the Silent Hill thing, for sure, definitely. There's also those shades as well. So, like, things which have lost all hope and gone kind of crazy and killy. Speaking of Baldur's Gate, what powers human children of deities get? Oh, Morgan, that's the Empyreans. So the demigods in your monster manual are the Empyreans. So those are the mortal. You can tone them down a little bit to have mortal children of gods, but gods generally have immortal children. So they're demigods, and the Empyreans are demigods, essentially. Empyreans. Close. You're getting closer, guys. Yes, there was cheese. I ate some white matter camembert, some Hutchinson's Gouda, and some extra super special exclusive New Zealand's own blue cheese called Shenley Station Blue, with a proprietary 45 degrees south blue cheese mould, which they discovered from some rotting hay. Well, I wouldn't say, it was fermenting hay. Balspawn. Yeah, so far in Baldur's Gate I've died twice. I haven't even gotten out of the dungeon because I'm I'm playing it properly. Hey, Kickass Duke, thank you. What would happen if a Mind Flayer tadpole went through Ceramorphosis in a human-sized individual, only it had been under the influence of a long-lengthened polymorph spell, but it's a large or huge-sized creature? Is that possible? Oh, that's a good question. So they've maximized or possibly cast a couple of times polymorph on this creature so that the Ceramorphosis... So the Ceramorphosis takes what, like a week? Is it possible for Ceramorphosis to happen in a polymorphed creature? I'm going to go yeah, because that's cool. And again, it comes down to some sort of weird experimentation. Probably not the Mind Flayers doing that, because they don't rely so much on arcane power. They think of it as worthless. And those who practice arcane magic are despised and thrown out of the community, sort of thing. They're vilified. Because it goes so wrong. Quite often they turn into liches and stuff. So that would probably be a cabal of evil necromancers or something like that, who are, or possibly a warlock of dark gods, old ones, old powers, who are deliberately trying to create some sort of an emissary that their dark god can inhabit, which is how I would spin it. Like it's going to be a big bad evil guy, basically. The stream is cheesy as fuck. Yep. Undead are immune to Mind Flayer tadpoles. Yes, absolutely. Were-rats are so jealous of my cheese. Thanks, Kojak. Have you ever used the Gestalt rules before, and do you know of any notable deep dragons? Yeah, there are some notable deep dragons. I think there's one or two. I can't remember the names, but they're like Underdark personalities. There was one that was that a deep dragon that Bruno Battlehammer fought, or was it a black dragon? I think it was a deep dragon. It was in charge of a lot of goblins anyway. Duergar. Can anybody remember the name of that dragon? Bruno was on fire, but he was immune to it thanks to Drist's sword. Anyway. Gestalt rules. I don't know about Gestalt rules. We're asking questions that Wizards of the Coast never meant to us to ask. How would I roleplay an awoken Neolithid? It would be screaming at the characters to stop thinking, because their thoughts would be hammering into its exposed nerve endings. So the characters might actually get on the good side if they just concentrate on nice, peaceful thoughts. Like peaceful, and like start imagining things that the Neolithid has never seen before, like forest glades and blue sky and things like that. And then the Neolithid would be temporarily, But if one of the players at the table goes, okay, we're going to sidle around and try and get this thing, it'll be like, rah! Right on them. It's like, oh, no, there's no initiative rolls here. It knows exactly what you're thinking. It's got uncontrolled telepathy. It's raw. It's absorbing your long-term memories. It's that exposed. That's why it's so aggressive towards you. Aboleth cannot be turned into Mind Flayers. They're incompatible. I don't know about the dragon Garnetalizer. Do I? No. I don't know everything. Shimmergloom, that's it. Thank you, Agent of Karma. It was a shadow dragon called Shimmergloom. Neolithid necromancer. Nice. The Gary Stewart that ever Gary Stewed. I don't know. I think Driss gets a bad rap. Like he like he's challenged by his one of his greatest challenges is just a human, Artemis Centauri, a very highly skilled human, and but he's been stabbed and beaten and captured and tortured and stuff. You know, he's had a hard life. Thanks, Kid Jack. That face I make. Vicaria. Verdun race? Really? Yeah, there's not much point to an Aboleth Mind Flayer, really. I mean, they already have all of the powers of a Mind Flayer aside from an Elder Brain. But if the Aboleth wanted to make an Elder Brain, they could. They have the darkest magics. He does get beat up by chicks. It's true. What's the most interesting and fun lair and legendary actions you've used? Actually, I really like white dragons. Their ability to swim under the frozen ice, for instance, and then come up and attack people. It's really quite good. And they're obscured in a blizzard, and they're they're inching their way down a cliff face above the characters on a mountain pass, and the characters have no idea that the dragon is there, because the lair effects of the dragon is snow and ice, and they're in the mountaintops, so there's snow and ice everywhere, so they've got no idea that it's manipulating the fog to conceal its presence so it can sneak up on them and just grab one. And then next thing you know, they're going over difficult terrain trying to find this thing's lair on a cliff face, and it's like in a cave in a crevasse, and they're just like way out of their element, and this thing has got every single advantage. Do I like Artis Simba? I don't really know a lot about Artis Simba. Like, I've played him as a character in one of the D&D games, but I haven't read about him or been involved in many of the storylines with Artemis Simba in it. Yeah, Drist has changed over the course of the books. Yeah, the cheese party's over, sorry. It would be super cool if you did an episode on Dragotha, the original Dracolich, detailed in Dragon Magazine. Oh yeah, I can do that. Why don't Mind Flayers like armies of tadpoles in the sea? Imagine that campaign. Oh, why aren't there armies of tadpoles in the sea? I'm not entirely sure. I don't think they can survive very long on their own. They need the nourishment of the briny tank that they're put into. Also, I think it's in the best interest of the Mind Flayers that they don't let the tadpoles get out, because neolithids. So, remember that everything the Mind Flayers do is dictated by the Elder Brain. The Elder Brains are very controlling, megalomaniacal overlords. And they lie. Favorite character ever created? So many. Probably a Scion character called Belchimerol that I had during a Friends campaign. He was one of the few characters that's ever elevated to godhood and became Bel, the god Bel, in his campaign world. Or as a Kami, I imagine. Kami? I think so. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ian, if you're watching this later. Do any half aberrations exist? Yeah, I mean, there could be There could be creatures which are half aberration. The closest I can think of for humans would be the Chaoti, which are a bunch of wizards that went into the far realm thinking they could protect themselves through magic. Turned out they were wrong, and now magic is the only thing that preserves them when they step back into the mortal world. Otherwise, they are actually creatures of the far realm. Twisted and mutated, covered in this black tar-like substance to keep their bodies together. What's the most ridiculous combination of races, templates, etc. you've ever seen? Well, that would be the mummy vampire werewolf lich. If you have a half dragon or draconic sorcerer, what would they look like? Is it consistent, or what draconic features and how much vary from individual to individual? Really depends on you. Like half dragon, draconic sorcerer just looks like a half dragon. You could possibly accentuate the draconic traits, so they grow wings and stuff like that. But generally speaking, they're just manifesting what's in their draconic nature. Mind Flayer hags, entirely possible. Entirely possible. Hag Mind Flayer, yep. Some of the hags can get quite big though. Some hag varieties are giant sized, like huge. The wintry type hags. Can't remember the name of them. Was he one with the rockin' spiders? Possibly. Are there metallic dragons of the more advanced metals? Cobalt, titanium, tungsten, bismuth. There are tungsten dragons. I think I've done a video detailing what a tungsten dragon is all about. Don't know about cobalt. Don't know about titanium, and I don't know about bismuth. How would I roleplay a pit fiend? I'll just be me, essentially, at the table telling everybody what's going on. Because pit fiends are very, very intelligent. They know what's going on. Alien, yeah, but essentially that's it, Greenside. There were alienists that eventually became aberrations. Just how dangerous is the Far Realm? It's very dangerous. Very dangerous. It's so unstable and so weird, like alternate laws of physics weird. Elminster, Halaster, and Mordenkainen in a standoff in a neutral plane. Who wins? None of them, because they're not enemies. They're all fine. They would probably sit down and play a game of chess or something to determine who wins. So the best way to describe the Far Realm is if you're taking steps into an alternate dimension, a parallel dimension, and you keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going, with every step being a little bit weirder. So in one, you're a race car driver, and the next one, you were never born, and the next one, so like every step is a different alternate reality, a difference in the timeline that went a different way. So the Far Realms represent the furthest steps away from what went on in history in the universe, to create, like, the Big Bang was different, so there's different laws of physics, and like anything goes, really. It's very, very hard for creatures who have evolved to live on a planet with set conditions to comprehend something which no longer fits those conditions anymore, so your senses don't work right. So yeah, it's very, very difficult. Not only that, but creatures like, if you look at the beholders and the gricks and the growls and things like that, they are adapted to live in really weird environments. So for instance, where the beholder is from, a ambulatory form of locomotion doesn't work for whatever reason. So they've evolved to float in any direction, and have an ability to fire arcane energy of all sorts of different types. So in their home dimension, or dimensions, What sort of threats were they facing on a daily basis that required them to evolve heat rays and disintegration beams and anti-magic effects and stuff like that? Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff, I imagine. So there you go. What race can traverse any dimension in D&D and not be affected? Humans. Humans are high elves, gods. Yeah. So humans have got a remarkable ability to adapt to anything using magic. If you take magic away from the situation, out of that equation, it narrows it down considerably to basically gods. That's about it. Half-song dragons would resemble a non-draconic parent. Yep. Platinum dragons. There's a few platinum dragons. Bahamut is one of them. I think there's only 6 in total. I could be wrong. Yeah, I really like the Mercury dragons as well. Will I ever do a video on Zakara? Yes, I will. I'll do a video on Zakara. Some more on like the Shar and other places in the Forgotten Realms. I'll also do stuff on the Sorcerer Kings of Athos, specific locations in various places. Bear in mind though that like all of my metrics on my channel tell me to keep doing monster videos almost exclusively. Whenever I deviate from that, it's not great for my channel. So you guys are actually directing me to do monster ecology videos, less talking about places and histories and lore of stuff like that. So I'm incorporating more of that into my monster ecology videos because I want to explore that stuff as well, and it comes up quite often when I'm researching that sort of stuff. But aside from like my video on Thay and things like that, like my History of the Forgotten Realms series hasn't done very well at all. My Planescapey stuff, although it's very stridently asked for, they don't do particularly well either. Even my video on Introduction to Eberron didn't do particularly well. So, you know, there's other really good channels for that. Jordan does some really good lore stuff on gods and locations. Mr. Rex also is doing a lot of monster ecology stuff, but he's also delving into lore and things like that on places and things. Forgotten Realms History Explained also does stuff like that as well. So yeah. Can I make you a god character? You could play an Empyrean. Play an Imperium. Modrons! Yeah. So, like, I'm still going to do those videos because I want to do them. But I'm just saying that take it with a bit of understanding that when you ask me to do videos on specific bits of lore, like I get a lot of requests to do Ravenloft stuff. I personally don't have a lot of experience with Ravenloft, so my personal motivation to do Ravenloft videos is pretty low. But I get asked a lot to do it by people, so I will get around to it. But I can tell you right now that those videos aren't going to do particularly well. So effort, motivation, monetary reward. So it's really fan service is the reason why I'd be doing that one. So just to give you an idea. I've done a video on Thay, yeah. Go find the video on Thay, it's really good. Yeah, well, it's the channel keeps me busy. Like I put out 2 videos a week, at least, as well as the live stream every Sunday. And that's a lot more than a lot of other channels, particularly considering what I do. But it's thanks to you that I'm allowed to do this full time. You guys support me financially, so you'll always have my thanks, and I'll always listen to what you want me to do. Yeah, fan service, yeah. Pretty sure, Joseph. So yeah, like Patreon is the best way to get me to do specific content. When patrons request me to do videos, I generally listen and get those videos done. Like Dragon Spur, Hell's Gate Keep, that was another video that I did that was a patron request. Thanks, William. Your first campaign was Curse of Strahd. an interesting story, actually. A campaign where the chromatic dragons, which were one of Tiamat's heads, got her head got cut off, and they lost their connection to Tiamat and turned good or neutral. It's like whatever. Oh, Acererak runs rings around Zastam. Zastam even sort of like Zastam is either retired or been killed, I think. But Zastam and the Liches generally are not in control of Thay anymore. Because everybody went, you know what? You guys know there's just too many undead around here. It's starting to get real uncomfortable. And the smell. The local incense sellers, merchants would be, no! More undead! Dragon Turtle, when I said what does a half dragon and draconic sorcerer look like, I mean what does a half dragon look like and what does a draconic sorcerer? Oh, okay. So draconic sorcerers look like a human or whatever species they were originally, but they will have some weird trait, be it scaly skin on their forearms, be it dragon talons instead of fingernails. They might have one draconic pupil, like a slit pupil. They might have some spines coming from their hair. They may have elf-like ears with like sort of finned ear or something like that. Just some little trait that gives them a otherworldly appearance. Quite often draconic sorcerers will grow a scaly sort of hardness to their skin. It doesn't necessarily have to be like full-on dragon skin. But they'll still get like an armor class bonus, I think, and at least in older editions they did. So it's some sort of physical trait which represents their draconic nature genetically manifesting. Half dragons look like humanoid dragons. They look like humanoid dragons, pretty much. Monty Python style Dungeons and Dragons, yeah. Can a Dragonborn Druid use its breath weapon when in beast shape? Yes, it can. Tarrasque 100 Beholders are 100 Beholders because Beholders are very smart and they can also cast spells and stuff and use, easily 100 Beholders. This is Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. Groups of monsters are always going to be more powerful. Alright, everybody. It's time for me to go. It's going to be interesting watching this myself later on to see how the audio quality stacks up and whether I'm going to have to reinstall my old microphone just for the live streams, which will be easy enough. I don't have a favourite Ravenloft domain because I've never played Ravenloft. I think my only experience with Ravenloft was the sort of comedic Castle Ravenloft adventure back in AD&D. The best group of monsters? Oh, kobolds. Oh, don't worry, I'll be back next week. Yeah, sorry about the sound quality, Darkstrider. I'll work on it. Well, I'll listen to the sound quality later myself and see whether it was actually as bad as anybody says it was. What time is it in New Zealand? It's just gone lunchtime, 12 o'clock. 12 p.m. Time for second breakfast. See you later, Base Hunter. Thanks. Thanks, everybody. I will keep up the work. I will never quit. I will never stop. I will never slow down. I may go on holiday every now and then, but I'll never stop. Yes, I agree, Dragon Lord. Same time, same place. Oh yeah, the camera focusing. Well, I can actually fix that by just making it not focus, because, I mean, I don't move around. There's no reason why it's continually trying to focus. I just reinstalled the drivers for it on the new machine. This is literally the first time I've turned on and used the camera on this new machine. So yeah. I am 8 hours ahead of you. It is Sunday, 12 p.m. Sunday in New Zealand. Oh, there's a portal, Silver Moon and Capri. Nice. All right, everybody. Catch you later.